Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're playing some new Hogaak action. The other day on the channel I played against Stryfo, who beat me with this really sweet looking Hogaak list. So I asked for deck list and they provided it. So here we are. This is Stryfo's Hogaak brew. So the purpose of this deck is for us to mill ourselves. So we have Stitcher Supplier and Hedron Crab to do that. Those are our main options. Obviously Barrowgoyf can connect to mill as well, while just being a great card. Once we've got some stuff milled over, what are we doing with it? Well, we've got Bloodghast that come back, we've got Cabal Therapy we can flashback, Life from Loam we can dredge and do some cool stuff with, and we have ourselves Hogaak, the namesake of the deck, so we can exile some cards from our graveyard and then we can play this one out. It's a nice big 8/8 trampler, which a lot of decks are going to struggle with, especially since we see more and more people pushing towards things like Fatal Push as their removal, which obviously doesn't touch this. And then we have a new weapon in our arsenal, pun intended, of Diamond Weapon. So this is 7 green for an 8/8 reach, prevent all combat damage will be dealt to it, and it costs 1 less for each permanent card in your graveyard. If you look at our list, permanent cards are aplenty, so this should be relatively cheap. Also, when we are fueling our graveyard, we're also going to be fueling our Wight or the Reliquary, which is got a little package here that we can delve for as well. So this can go and find us our Wasteland to deal with the Caracas that's going to be messing with our legendary permanents. It can go and find us Graveyard Hate. It can find a nice little filtering off of the Cephalid Coliseum. Alternatively, we can use the Cephalid Coliseum on our opponent if we have a Bowmasters out, which will then ping them for a bunch and let us take out a bunch of their little creatures sometimes. And then we can also just find one of our Surveil lands as well. Orcish Bowmasters has a pretty special place in this deck, aside from just being a great card. This gives us 2 bodies for 1 card, which is exactly what you need to get a Hogaak into play, because you need to convoke the 2 coloured pips on this one. A couple of other spicy ones left in here. We've got the Wail of the Forgotten. So this is Descend 8. So we choose 1, but if there's 8 or more permanent cards in our graveyard, we can choose as many as we like. So it bounces a non-land permanent. It makes an opponent discard a card, or it looks at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So this can mill us, it can dig for stuff, it can get a problem permanent out of the way. It's pretty darn useful. And the other spicy one here is Winternight Stories. This is 2 and a blue, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card. So kind of like Thirst for Knowledge type thing, but for creatures, which is great for us because we want to be discarding things like Hogaak anyway, or Bloodghast. And then has Harmonize, which is a sort of form of flashback. So you may cast this card from your graveyard for its Harmonize cost. You may tap a creature you control to reduce that cost by X, where X is its power, then exile this spell. So it's like flashback, but we can tap our creatures to make it cheaper, so that allows us to dredge further through our deck and get more stuff going that way. I think that's about it for the main deck. Lots of cool moving pieces I'm excited to put together, backed up by just having some really strong cards alongside it. Sideboard-wise, we've got some Faerie Macabre, so we can mess with our opponent's graveyard. We've got some Hydroblast, so we can blow up things like Blood Moon. And we have a little island in the sideboard that can help with the Hydroblast when we need them. We've got some Force of Vigors, which can also blow up Blood Moons and some problem permanents. We've got ourselves some Dismembers, a little bit of extra removal, because we're not super big on removal here. We're just trying to overwhelm our opponent with big creatures that are just going to be better than what they're doing. But sometimes we will need to kill some problem permanents. Things like Containment Priest, that sort of jam. And a couple bits of discard to round it out. That is the list. I'm very excited to give this one a go. I always like trying new Hogaak technologies. I'm a big fan of graveyard synergy decks, so this is right up my alley. Once again, thank you to Stryfo for providing this list. And let's get stuck in with Hogaak's latest weapon. For free, fast, and secure worldwide shipping on high-end singles, classic products, and full sets, check out 3-for-1 Trading. Whether it's the legacy or pre-modern that I play on this channel, or even vintage and old school, they've got you covered. Find them through the link in the description of this video and use my code COW3 for free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Alright, we are on the play here. So what are we doing? We're probably like Surveil Land into Wail of the Forgotten. That feels pretty low power for what our deck can achieve. I think we can mulligan. This is much more like it. We can lead off with a Stitcher Supplier off this Underground Sea, and the next turn we can play Hedron Crab, fetch land, and just go a bit wild. Maybe we get to sacrifice this as well, and we don't need this diamond weapon in our hand anyway. Is that true? Actually, if we keep this, maybe we just put back the Underground Mortuary, because this gives us a payoff at the end of all of this. That makes some sense to me. Obviously, our graveyard is the main payoff, but here we are. Right, Underground Sea. Get Stitcher Supplier stuck in over there. I love this card. We have a Hogaak. And we're going to get the Bloodghast back, so we should be able to deploy a Hogaak on turn 2 here. Alright, we're already doing the thing. Pretty excited about that. Garden of Freyalise. Are we just going to get Usal spelled on turn 1? Could be. That's a Lotus Petal. There's a Dark Ritual. There is Undercity Informer with enough mana to crack it. Cool. That is a very sad way for this game to go. We had such a sweet hand. Unfortunately, our opponent just didn't want to play Magic today, and they just wanted to do some Oopsal spelling. Alright, let's scoop that up. Pretty standard looking affair there. The Garden of Freyalise tells us all we need to know about our opponent's list, really. So, we don't have great graveyard hate here, if I'm being honest. So we'll have these Faerie Macabres, we'll have a couple of Thoughtseizes. Do I want some Force of Vigors? If our opponent's pivoting to something like a Charbelcher, then maybe we need these. So that's kind of a lot of cards we're bringing in, which is a bit awkward. The Wail of the Forgotten can bounce out something. It can maybe dig for an option. Being able to dig for Graveyard Hate isn't the worst thing in the world for us. Honestly, I don't think it matters what we do here. I think this is going to be a horrible matchup. The Fairies are so much worse than Leyline here as well. We're certainly not going to have time to be doing Leyline of the Void stuff. This can tutor up a Bojuka Bog, so we definitely want to keep that around. Cabal Therapy can do some useful stuff if we can name the right card. We're probably just cutting top end here. They've obviously seen our graveyard stuff as well, so maybe we're just cutting some of this. We just have to win with whatever. That's kind of annoying, isn't it? Do we have enough green cards for a Force of Vigor, to be honest? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's a little shy. Maybe we can't cut these. And we're just cutting like... This does dig for... If we get to 3 mana, this digs for Faerie Macabre, though. Do we need Bloodghasts? Maybe. We basically aren't here to play Magic. We're just here to stop our opponents doing and then hopefully win with whatever's left over. So this is kind of our engine cards. I don't think we can get rid of our engine cards. Obviously, the Cabal Therapy is great. Maybe... Is it Bowmasters here? Oh, we're a 61 card deck, aren't we? So we can afford to have 3 Bowmasters. Alright, I guess that's what we're doing. Oh, I was so excited by our opening hand. Okay. What does this hand do? Faerie Macabre, Thoughtseize, Thoughtseize. Like, we don't play our game, really, here. But that's not really what this game is about. If we can get Threshold, we can kill our opponent with Cephalid Coliseum. This is actually quite a big deal. Are you just going to start with like a Leyline of Sanctity in play and just blank our Thoughtseizes and our Cabal Therapy? The fact that we can go Thoughtseeze into Thoughtseize Cabal Therapy is pretty good. Now, it might not be enough. Our opponent might still be able to win through this. But it's what we've got. We'll have to piece together some kind of win condition afterwards. So what is our first land? It probably wants to be the Underground Sea here. I think that makes the most amount of sense because then we can Hedron Crab on 2 if we get something along those lines. I don't think it matters because we're just going to be Thoughtseizing anyway. But our opponent might think about Daisies and stuff as well. So they're less likely to go for it. What do we have here? Balustrade Spy, Dark Ritual. So if we take the Balustrade Spy, our opponent can reanimate it. Now we have a Faerie Macabre which can shut that down. If we take their only mana source, then they can maybe just rip a black source and they go 3 mana, 4 mana, go. So I guess we just take the Balustrade Spy and get our opponent to waste something on it because they don't have any hand disruption here. So maybe they'll just waste this reanimate first. Well, they're going for a Dark Ritual first. That is interesting. Is this just they have enough mana to play other stuff? Alright, let's exile these 2 cards. Did you draw a Pact of Negation or something? The Pact of Negation doesn't work on this, so ignore me. Alright, so we managed to get 2 cards out of our opponent, which is a bit of a surprise, to be honest. So this turn we're going to Thoughtseize again, see what our opponent drew. Oh, we know what they drew, right? No, we didn't actually. They drew another wear down. So we take the... We can shut off the green mana. We don't need to shut off the green mana, actually. We can just take the Cabal Ritual here. And then we can cast this. I think off of Bayou, we cast Cabal Therapy. We name Wear Down. Leave them with just an Elvish Spirit Guide. And we're pretty close to Threshold, which is where we get to just win the game if our opponent ever mills himself. Fellmire. So we know what they drew. Let's get this Stitcher's Supplier down, see if we can find a Hogaak. Did not find a Hogaak. Let's try this Stitcher's Supplier, see if we can find a Hogaak. Did not find a Hogaak. I'll play this out. I can Cabal Therapy away our opponent's last card and mill a bit deeper. I think that's fine. We should have done this before playing out of Cephalid Coliseum. Oh no, did we board out a Bloodghast? I think we did actually. So now if our opponent ever mills their entire library, we can just point a Cephalid Coliseum at them. This is the thing with the Uxor Spells deck. Only one person really gets to play Magic, and it's not really Magic we're playing here. We're just stopping our opponent from doing anything and then moving on. So we did take out all the Bloodghast. There's no reason to not have this. I guess we attack for 1. We'll surveil land in our opponent's end step. I don't think we need to do it now. A Bojuka Bog. So they might be able to start just casting creatures soon. And they got another Goblin. A Pox Walkers. Okay. So they now have the better clock. Because we had to basically... To keep a hand that doesn't really play the game, we're just trying to not lose. I would like to have... I guess we would want another green source here, don't we? And we can cast things like Diamond Weapon. That doesn't actually do anything right now, does it? Let's just put it into our graveyard. It's not what this game is about just yet. This is a sorcery. Alright, let's... so we'll discard a creature card, please. I'll discard Hogaak. What are we doing now? We can't bring back the Hogaak yet. So I guess we pass. An Undercity Informer, you say? Okay, they have no additional mana, so it's time to hold up this Cephalid Coliseum and hope that that gets us where we need to go. Force of Vigor. Okay, I guess we just pass and hope our opponent makes the mistake into our Cephalid Coliseum. They probably have a way of winning through this anyway. But it is what it is. Alright, so they're going for it here. Do they have a way that gets around what our plan is? Let's just tuck our graveyard away for now. So they have 2 Narcomoebas over there. 1 card in hand. I'm going to exile the Narcomoebas. Is that true? How many Jack-o'-lanterns do we have? Let's just pop that whole graveyard out. So they have 1 Jack-o'-lantern here, which is their way of doing Memory's Journey lines. How many Memory's Journey do we have? 1 Memory's Journey. Is that it? I'll take the Memory's Journey and the Jack-o'-lantern here. And there's no way they can get us with this. So if they put the Memory's Journey on the stack, then we crack the Cephalid Coliseum. Because this is target player, which a lot of people forget about. Alright. Get Cephalid Coliseum'd. Alright, we managed to win the game with Cephalid Coliseum. Nice. Unfortunately, we are much weaker on the draw. So we kind of kept these in. They did show us the Charm Voucher, so we do need to keep our green count high. It does mean that these are actually a little bit tricky to play, but again, this game is sadly not about really playing our threats. It's about not dying to our opponent's stuff, which is a bit sad. But here we are. Not long now until this deck gets some bans, though. A couple of weeks, 1 week, I can't remember now. End of the month, I think. This hand has no graveyard hate. Has no hand disruption. Does have a Cephalid Coliseum if we get 2 turns on the draw. That just doesn't seem realistic, does it? Okay, we have hand disruption. We have to hope we name the right thing. We also have to hope we get a turn. But we also can follow up with Wight of the Reliquary. I guess this is probably good enough. And then we put back the Hogaak, because this game is not about playing Magic. It's about not dying in turn 1 and 2. They kept 6, so the chances of them having a turn 1 here are pretty high. Felmire. It's untapped. We're dead. Unless they're just going to Thoughtseize us first. Okay, so we're getting Thoughtseized, and then they kill us on turn 2. Okay. Maybe we can draw on one of Wasteland and take them off. Oh, they took the Cabal Therapy. We can replay the Cabal Therapy here. Okay, so I'm going to go and get... I think it's Underground Sea. The next one is Bayou. Let's play Stitch's Supplier. Okay, I'm going to Cabal Therapy my opponent here. So I have to name the right thing. So, I think, because they have 2 creatures, we can take a 50-50 on the creatures, but they also lose to like Reanimate and stuff in that one, but there's not a lot of Reanimates in their deck. So we can take the 50-50 on the creatures, or we could hit the Dark Ritual, which is the easiest way they get up to 4 mana in the first place. So I think I'm going to name Dark Ritual, because I think if they don't have Dark Ritual, we're more likely to get another turn. Okay, so they have an Undercity Informer next turn. Alright, I was going to name Balustrade Spy anyway, so my 50-50 would have missed. So they can play out the Undercity Informer here if they spend all their mana, and they didn't draw another mana, then we can Wail it. But they know we have the Wail, so they shouldn't play into it. Have they just worked that out themselves? They did run into our trap last turn. Okay, we need our opponent to brick on mana for one turn, and then we're okay-ish, as long as we can find a creature. So if we go get the Bayou here, green and black. We didn't mill over the Bojuka Bog, we didn't know. Okay. So we need our opponent to not find one mana this turn in their deck that has lots and lots of mana. And we need to find, like we have this creature. This is a creature we can play and sacrifice. That's fine. Oh wow, we're in. We're in. We've done it. Okay, I will deploy. So this is green and black. Deploy this. I'll crack this for... we need another green source, but we don't have another Bayou, so it probably just has to be this Underground Sea for now. Because we need the black mana. Alright, so we will Cabal Therapy our opponent here. We'll name Elvish Spirit Guide. If we can just crimp them on mana, that's pretty handy. 2 Pact of Negations and a Shenanigans. So they got 4 cards now. 1, 2, 3, 4. This has Vigilance, so we do get to clock our opponent. And now we're in a position where we should be able to win here. We needed our opponent to brick for 2 turns, but they did. So that's good. And now we have lethal in play, and it's our turn. Alright, take that, Oopsal Spells. Get out of here. A lot had to go right for us. Our opponent had to have a lot go wrong for them, but we got there. Let's go to round 2. I don't think we can keep this one lander. Let's mulligan. What about this one lander? We have a thing we can't cast. Some other things we can't cast. Alright, we're going to go to 5. Our deck's pretty good on low resources because the graveyard is our resource. But we do need to find something resembling the mana. So we probably just have to keep it at this point. So what is our plan? Do we just play good spells and hope they carry us? So we just put back the weapon for now. And then one of the lands. Or we don't really want to get Wastelanded off. So maybe we just put back the Wail and just play... Oh, we have to put like 3 cards. Jeez. Well, I'll put back the Bayou, I guess. Not the opener I wanted. Oh, our opponent on 5 cards as well, though. Oh, don't Thoughtseize me. Okay, just another Nethergoyf. Thoughtseize me with mod to 4 would make me sad. Alright, Hedge Maze. Here we go. Does expose us to Wasteland, but you just got to take your lumps when you're on this few cards. This is a card that is good, and we can cast it. I will leave it on top. If we get Wastelanded, it obviously sucks. Our opponent's on reduced resources, so they're less likely to have Wasteland. They're just going to keep lands that cast their spells and some spells that are worth casting. But there's no reason they can't cantrip into a Wasteland. Right, so we're just taking 2. Are we going to see something in the second main phase, or did they miss on land? They missed on land. Okay, that is something for us. Let's crack this. So we want a black source. Does it want to be blue or green? So this is black and blue. This is green, so it doesn't really matter that much, as long as it's black. So I guess we take the Underground Sea here. We could get the Bayou, and that makes the diamond weapon, more castable. Alright, I'll go with the Bayou here. I think we cast the Wight first. Because this needs like a turn to get around the table and do some stuff. Alright, so we got days out of our opponent's hand. That's not a surprise. I think the Orcish Bowmasters is going to be a bigger prize against our opponent on 1 land in their cantrip deck. Because they're going to be cantripping to more lands at some point. Not this turn by the looks of it. Take 2, that's fine. We can take these hits for a little while. Wight of the Reliquary. Sure. Let's get this going. Alright, are they just going to fail push this? Or are they going to daze it? Okay. I don't think they're doing anything with this black mana. But they're just playing around us potentially having a daze. So now we should be able to resolve this Orcish Bowmasters. We could trade everything with this Nethergoyf, but that's not really worth doing, is it? Another Wight of the Reliquary is tempting. But I think this time it is the Bowmaster turn. We'll take the 2 here. We don't need to really think about blocking just yet. We can do that next turn. So in the end step, we'll just fire this in. Yes, this does mean our opponent can then Bowmasters our Bowmaster. But we're on reduced resources. We need to get something going. If this doesn't make it to play, then it's just going to fuel our Wight, who's going to be even larger. Right. This feels like our opponent's going to Bowmaster us. Here it is. Yep. We knew this was a possibility. Let's just hope they don't have the third days. Hedron Crab is not what we're about just yet. Black and green. How do you like this creature? So there's going to be, what, 5/5? They do have the third days. Okay. Okay. I see what this is. So if we draw a land there, we can dump a Barrowgoyf. It's not going to be the largest Barrowgoyf, but it's going to be fine. Obviously, they're going to have the 4th days. I can feel it in my bones. They're going to ping our Orc army, and now we're getting hit for quite a lot of damage. So we're getting to the point where we do need to actually stick this Barrowgoyf and hope it's good. Our opponent's multiplier was better than our multifour, unfortunately. Land. We did find the land. I'm not going to try and do Hedron Crab stuff. I'm just going to stick something big and scary here. So we want to get to the Underground Sea here. So we've got one of each. It's harder to wasteland us off of colours. Do you have the 4th days? No. We now have the best creature on the board. Are we going to have that creature for long? They will need to have some kind of fetch land or wasteland in order to trigger Revolt if they want to fail push this. But they could be playing like Shoulder's Edict in there. Baleful Strix. Okay. That is fine. A little bit awkward, but fine. They're probably not attacking here. They could try and push damage. I don't think they're going to. Nope. They did not think so either. We can bounce this. That feels horrible. We could play a Hedron Crab, though. We want to keep green-green. Do we need to keep green-green? Not right now. How many... So, what do we need? Descend... So 8 or more permanent cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we play the crab out. Then we play the land. We mill ourselves. Hopefully putting in enough permanents. We did put in enough permanents. Good. So now we cast Wail of the Forgotten. So I'll do all of these. So what non-land permanent am I going to return to our opponent's hand? We could bounce the Strix and attack. That is a little dicey. We could bounce the Orc army and just get rid of it forever. Which I don't hate. So we want blue. We could bounce the Strix and then Cabal Therapy, losing our Hedron Crab. So if we get 4 damage in here, so we go up to 9, our opponent can crack back for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe. Alright, so I'm going to bounce this. They can discard a card. I will pay blue and black. What are they going to discard here? So when we use the Hedron Crab to get the Cabal Therapy, I put one of these into my hand, do I? I think it's probably going to be Barrowgoyf, isn't it? So if I Cabal Therapy my opponent now... Oh, they discarded the Baleful Strix. So they've already pumped our guy here. Right, we will attack for 5 here. So this guarantees we get the lifelink. I'm going to mill some cards. That's what our deck wants to do. I get this Hedron Crab. I don't think we get to Cabal Therapy here. We just need to chump block, possibly. But we are starting to work up our engine. Our opponent's just playing good stuff cards that are always going to be good. We're playing an engine where if it gets running and does its thing, it should go over the top of a deck that's just playing good cards. But they're just trying to take out the pieces of our engine. That's generally how these matchups tend to work. This puts us to 1, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ninjutsu. This is lethal, right? This gives them 2, 4, 5. Oh, wow. Yeah. Out the ground. So if we'd have kept up the... I'm trying to think how we could have done that. I think the way that we should have done this is when we tapped for our Wail of the Forgotten, we should have tapped to leave up Underground Sea. That way, when our Barrowgoyf connects, we can play either the Hedron Crab or the Stitcher Supply that we draw. This way, we can only play one of those two things. So we should have thought a little bit more about that. Obviously, I've just picked this deck up, and there's a lot of tiny margins in here. Okay, so what do we want to do against our opponent? Maybe some Dismembers. That's probably all I'm interested in. I don't think we're bringing Force of Vigors in. If we want Dismembers, we're probably getting rid of this draw spell so that Bowmasters is less good against us, just in general. I like Life from the Loam here. I always like Life from the Loam though, so maybe that's just me being a bit more of a fan of it than I should be. Is this actually a matchup for Life from the Loam? Our opponent is probably just playing 2 colours. They can probably fetch basics. So, actually, is there any graveyard? Is there any cards in our... No, I don't think we're going to board out any lands here. Alright, let's actually just get rid of this Life from the Loam, I think. And just have this other Dismember in. So we've got a little bit of removal to supplement our bigger creatures. That Moon Circuit Hacker, that was sick. Alright. But we could have beat that if we played slightly differently. A 1-lander on the play. I don't think we can keep this. Okay, I think this is slightly better. Green is a little ways away, so we're going to put that back. I'm going to get a green source, which means I'm getting a Bayou here. We don't really want to get Wastelanded, but that is sort of the nature of what our deck does sometimes. Okay, so we can Bojuka Bog whatever our opponent does on turn 1, which will get back our Bloodghast. Alright, they do have a Wasteland. Alright, a little bit rude. But we knew that was a problem with keeping his hand potentially, but I think we're still right to do that. Let's get our Bloodghast back, and then let's Bojuka Bog away our opponent's Wasteland. If you show me a deck list with Bloodghast in, I'm probably going to want to play it. That's one of my all-time favourite creatures, the old Bloodghast. Big fan. Island Pass. Okay. Can we find a land? We cannot find a land. I will deploy the Stitcher's Supplier first. We can get a Daze here. We are getting a Daze. Like, we are ahead on board. But our threats aren't, like, super good. Our opponent can probably, like, fetch land, Barrowgoyf, and then... fetch land, Nethergoyf, and just block us. Alright, so we've got through that Daze now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this is a turn we'd probably try for the Hogaak. Alright, we're just in with the Hogaak. That's pretty big news. I wanted to test the wall with some counter magic, and we did the testing of the waters. Alright, our opponent just scoop into the Hogaak. Beautiful to see. So, yeah. Deck's perfect. Let's go again. This hand is fine. Unimpressive, though. We don't really have any engine stuff going on, although Barrowgoyf is an engine unto itself. I think we can keep this, though. Our opponent doesn't have exile removal, so our creatures just keep coming back. That's actually going to be really irritating for our opponent. Tamiyo. A 0-3, you say? Well, Bloodghast. You've met your match. We can go and get a Underground Mortuary, I think, with this one. Or no, we go and get the Undercity... No, we don't have Undercity Sewers. Undercity Sewers is the one you want to get because it opens you up to being able to play the Crab or the Stitcher Supplier. Right, so going to create a clue here. They could create a clue and then get a Moon Circuit Hacker. That card's pretty cool. Nice to see a Moon Circuit Hacker, to be fair. At least our opponent's got some cool stuff going on. Oh, here it comes. We're getting hacked. Yeah, I like this card quite a lot. So this loots when it deals combat damage, but if it's a turn it entered, then it gets to just draw a card instead. So it's pretty cool. Big fan. It kind of dropped off for a long time, but nice to see someone jamming it again. So I think this is Underground Mortuary here, because we need black. We may as well get the Surveil value since our deck is pretty graveyard focused. This is a very good card. I will put this on top of my library. It's very good with Bloodghast. That is what we in the business like to call an engine. I don't think we're playing this into the Daze though. I think we just go Bayou and just play a Bloodghast this turn. It's not very exciting, but it doesn't mind getting picked off by our Bowmasters because then we can just play a land, it comes back, and then we can play this around a Daze. We can't block with Bloodghast, so we just take the damage. Our opponent gets to loot here, which is nice for them. I don't think we're ready to Bojuka Bog just yet. I think that's a thing for next turn. Force of Will. Okay, does that mean our opponent has a Force of Will already and they just don't want that much card disadvantage? Or do they just not think this game is about that? Right, am I attacking with this first? Probably not, it doesn't make any sense to. I don't think we're Bojuka Bogging yet. I think we just play out this Verdant Catacombs and this Wight of the Reliquary. Okay, they did have the other force. Not surprised, to be honest. But this means we can dump a Barrowgoyf into play, and that's a pretty good body to have around, as we saw before. Now, our opponent has ways of dealing with that, I'm sure. But here we are. So poor little Bloodghast just has to sit there and watch the world fly around it and smash us in the face. Alright, this is a pretty big chunk. They also get to loot here. We could see something like a Murktide region, which would be a little bit spooky. We haven't seen that sort of stuff yet, though. Okay, a Brainstorm. They could still Murktide region here. This could be them trying to make it bigger. Or it could just be them wanting to get the Tamiyo getting larger. Alright. 4 cards in our opponent's hand. Let's get a Hedge Maze here. Get that extra little surveil value. A Cephalid Coliseum. That's not really what I want here, is it? I do like the card a lot. It is a sweet one. Okay, what do we got here? So we probably have to play a round of days. So I think that means step 1 is attack the Tamiyo. Just try and take a little bit off of that. So if it minuses, at least dies. Diamond Weapon, pretty good against Murktide regions. I would love to play the Bojuka Bog this turn. I just don't think we get to do that. I think we have to play the Barrowgoyf for a round of days. Which means Tropical Island, I think. Then we go for the Barrowgoyf. Leaving up the threat of Fatal Push or Veil of Summer. Okay, so we're in with the Barrowgoyf. They're drawing a card off of their clue. If our Barrowgoyf gets to stick around, that's going to be pretty good. We can just play a Diamond Weapon next turn. There's a land. We're going to see... I guess they can't fail push because nothing's gone to their graveyard from... Oh, nothing's left play. So they haven't got Revolt to trigger. Okay. So what they're going to do here is they lose their Tamiyo, get a Force of Will back, and then that triggers their Fatal Push on our Barrowgoyf. That is how we thought that was going to happen there. So 4, 5, 6 damage here. Yikes. This is troublesome. And we know they have a Force of Will. Do they have a blue card to go with it? What are the chances our opponent has a blue card to go with it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we need to Diamond Weapon. I guess we can attack with the Bloodghast first. Like, it's not blocking. If they trade it off here, it makes our Diamond Weapon slightly cheaper, so we can play it around a days and get this Bojuka Bog off, which might keep us alive. I don't think they're going to take this trade. I think it's going to take 2 damage. Okay, so I think we need to Diamond Weapon and Bojuka Bog here. I don't think we get to do... I think we have to do this. And if they have a daze, sure. So we're hoping they don't have a Force of Will here. We know they have a Force of Will. I hope they don't have a blue card for it, is what I mean. There is the Force of Will. Pitching the Tamiyo. Deploy this. Our opponent loses their graveyard. But they still have 3 damage and we are dead. Oh, the margins were so tight. If we'd have only played... If we'd have only just thought about which land we kept up and we cast the Wail of the Forgotten, that would have been a big deal there. We could have won that other game. Because we would have got another hit in with our Barrowgoyf and played another Barrowgoyf. And I think we would have been alright. So yeah, a little stumble there. We could have played that one better. Sure, we can say we were a bit unlucky. Our opponent had like triple days in one game or whatever. But we could have played things differently. And it's always good to learn. Let's go to round 3. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Okay, we've got just good cards. We don't really have our turn 1 plays that we want, but I can live with a Surveil land on turn 1. A Yavimaya. Is this just going to be lands? Could be. I don't think we're getting basics here, though. That is an Urza Saga. That is a Lava Spur Boots. I think we go and get Underground Mortuary is fine here. No, we kind of need a blue actually. Let's get a Hedge Maze. Bloodghast can go into the graveyard, please. Love that extra free value there. Hook it to my veins. Okay, so what are we doing this turn? Probably Verdant Catacombs, bring back the Bloodghast. And then crack this. We'll go and just get a swamp here. And I'm going to Life from the Loam here, I think. This just means that our opponent's not going to try and cheese us out with Wastelands. And then we can discard this Winternight Stories, because that wants to be in the graveyard anyway. I expect we're going to see... Yeah, so Maze of Ith, they can Maze of Ith us, or they can make a construct here. The construct is going to be small enough to die to our creature. Do I want to just dredge here? Is putting 3 cards in the graveyard better than a random draw? Yes, I think it is. Okay, Diamond Weapon. Okay, that's not really what I wanted to put in the graveyard right now. Right, let's attack with the Bloodghast first. I don't believe they're going to Urza Saga this to unblock here. I think they're just going to do that. So then we go... What basics do we have? Alright, it's just the swamp for basics. That makes sense. Let's crack this. I think we go and get another tropical island here. And then we just stick the Barrowgoyf down and say, how do you like that? They probably don't mind that, to be honest. But this can tussle with Urza Saga constructs relatively well. But they could go and get something like a Soul Guide Lantern and take out like a key piece. It's also important to note that Diamond Weapon is an artifact, so it does give us more types for Barrowgoyf, which is nice. Crop rotation with the trigger on the stack. Beautiful. It's just good, clean, wholesome fun right there. First spin of stage. Are we going to get hit by a hasty 2020? I would not like that very much. Exploration. Urza Saga. Okay. Whenever your opponent doesn't make the construct, it's always a very scary moment. Life from Loam, getting back Saga. But I guess our opponent just has the sort of long-term inevitability here, so I don't need to worry about that. Right, so they got a 4-3. Are they going to attack with that? I don't believe so. So we need to do something about this Marit Diamond Weapon is pretty good at dealing with Marit stuff. That isn't the one, is it? So what is the deal here? We can bounce the Expedition map. We could cast this to draw us 3 cards for just 1 mana. That's pretty good. Because our opponent's definitely going to maze this, aren't they? I think we attack with this. I'm just debating whether or not we attack with the Bloodghast. I guess we haven't played a land yet, so if they... I'm just working out, do we want this Bloodghast tapped or untapped? Because we may want to cast a Hogaak. But Hogaak's probably not going to save us from what's happening right now, is it? Alright, we're going to attack with both. I believe our opponent is just going to maze the Barrowgoyf. But if they block here, it gives us the option of doing Wail of the Forgotten to bounce this, and then their construct dies. Because they'll have 2 damage on it. But I don't think they're going to block here. I think they just take this, and then maze the Barrowgoyf. Because next time we're going to get hit by a hasty Marit Lage, so we're going to need to find like a Wasteland or something. Yep, we're just going to take damage off that. Okay, so now we cast this. So this costs 1 less. So if we tap this, then we just have to pay blue. Okay, we found Diamond Weapon. That's good news. What are we discarding here? Probably 2 cards, isn't it? I think we just get rid of Verdant Catacombs and Misty Rainforest. Just keep the ones that actually produce mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we play and crack this. Do we have another green source in our deck? We've got a Bayou in hand. There is a second Bayou in our deck. So we can do this. Okay. So I think we Cabal Therapy our opponent first. We name Crop Rotation. Ottawara. Do they have blue mana? They don't have blue mana though. Okay, so then we crack. Oh, we have loads of green actually because we have the Yavimaya, don't we? We'll crack this. We'll go and get the Bayou anyway. And this should cost 2 mana. Yes. Green and green. Okay. So they probably don't have a basic island, so they can't Ghost Quarter themselves to get blue here. Like, they do have a wall of Urza Saga tokens we're going to have to churn through. This is not going to be an easy game to win. Yep, there goes the expedition map. Are they just going to slow roll this? No, they get the Dark Depths. Are they going to miss the word reach on our creature here? No. How many permanents do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we crack this fetch land, we are descended, so we get more value off of our Wail of the Forgotten. That is probably worth doing. So let's do that. Are we attacking first? We need to keep this back so we don't die to Marit Lage. If we attack, they make a Marit Lage. That's not great for us, is it? If they make the Marit Lage, we can bounce it. And then we force them to redeploy the combo again in the next turn. And that's tolerable. Alright, I think we go to attacks and send in the Barrowgoyf and the Bloodghast. Actually, the Urza Saga token, they're going to be 4/3s. So they can make 1 construct. So that'll be a 4/3 guy. Sorry, this will become a 4/3 and the other one will be a 3/3. Sure, that's fine. Because if they block the Bloodghast, it's coming back anyway. That's not an issue. They're just going to make the... They're going to make the Marit Lage here. Good. So this gives us a line that I quite like, where we have the ability to bounce this, dig for a Bojuka Bog specifically, and have a jolly good time. So they're going to block here. This is indestructible. That's fine. We've got the Marit Lage out. So we still deal the damage, so we still gain the life here. And then we have Wail of the Forgotten that's going to be quite large here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we do have the Descended one. So we get to do all 3 of these. So we go... Bounce this non-land permanent. They discard a card. And then we go black and blue. Can we find the Bojuka Bog right now? And also what they discard. They discarded a life from the Loam. None of these are Bojuka Bog. So that's not really what I want. One of these is going to the graveyard. They're going to graveyard anyway, so we do just get the Hogaak right now. But they can make a hasty Marit Lage. But we can deploy the Hogaak using our Orcish Bowmasters. This deck is intense. Okay, so let's get this. We go Orcish Bowmaster. So this gets us the... So we just don't get to play Hogaak this turn, right? So we play this for black and green. So this gets us access to our Bojuka Bog next turn. And then, do we have another Surveil land? We do. So I'll play out this fetch land. This game is intense. There's so many different things to think about. It's pretty cool. Stryfo has built a pretty sweet deck here. I have thought about wanting a Dryad Arbor a couple of times though. Because if we fetch a Dryad Arbor, we immediately get ourselves... Oh, they're going to go Mox Diamond and bounce our thing, aren't they, here? They have enough mana to do all this. But yeah, so if we had a Dryad Arbor, it makes it easier to get the Hogaak into play sometimes. Alright, so they've named our Wight of the Reliquary. That is not a shocker. Do they get a Mox Diamond? They do. They pitch this Ottawara. They can buy back the Ottawara. And then they can bounce this Diamond Weapon. But I don't think they can deploy a hasty Marit Lage this turn. I haven't done the maths, but it doesn't look like they can do that. We're also on 21 life because of that Barrowgoyf hit, which is huge. So the best draw for us is probably Wail of the Forgotten into some good stuff. Cracking this fetch land is kind of a big deal. Do I think the 1 look is better? Like, is 1 look now or is 1 look later? I think the Surveil land actually ends up being better for us. It takes the Surveil land out of our deck, so we don't draw it. And I can take whatever card this is. Barrowgoyf. Can we afford to play the Barrowgoyf here? So our opponent's just going to bounce our weapon next turn. So I don't think we can afford the Barrowgoyf. As sad as that is. Okay. We have a massive Wight of the Reliquary, but we're just not able to convert onto what our opponent's doing. Okay, we have a Wail of the Forgotten. Let's attack with our Wight and our Bloodghast. Diamond Weapon, you are staying at home here. Is Diamond Weapon staying at home? If they... We want them to deploy the Marit Lage this turn so that we can have a chance at doing... Because we know this is getting bounced, right? So we do attack with everything here. And then we can Wail of the Forgotten, bounce the Pithing Needle. As is sorcery. Maybe we're not supposed to attack with the Wight. Just these two. Oh, they're mazing the Wight. That's good news. And they're blocking the Bloodghast. That's fine. Bloodghast loves dying to things. Okay, so the plan here is second main phase. Wail of the Forgotten. We were going to bounce this Pithing Needle. We're going to make our opponent discard a card. And we pay black and this blue mana. So they can Otawara our Wight of the Reliquary here. Okay, just let it go. What are you discarding here? Just a land because you can get it back in a minute. The Otawara. So we get one of these cards. None of them are particularly useful right now. Maybe the Cephalid Coliseum digs us into something. Sure. So we take the Cephalid Coliseum. We play the Cephalid Coliseum out. This brings back the Bloodghast, so we say yes to this. We can Cabal Therapy away the Pithing Needle here, which is the only card in their hand. And then do we make a surprise guy? I don't think we make the surprise guy here. I think we just go Orcish Bowmasters, leaving up the blue for the Cephalid Coliseum. This pings our opponent for one. Let's cast the Hogaak from our graveyard. And we'll get rid of some lands, I guess. I think we're supposed to get rid of the Wail of the Forgotten, actually. We also kind of want other bits and pieces going on here. Okay. So if our opponent makes a Marit Lage, we go get a Wasteland. Oh wait, this comes in tapped, doesn't it? Have I done all that for nothing? I think I have. Have I made a huge tiny error here? Yeah, this comes in tapped and we just die. We're one life away. That one fetch we did earlier. If we don't attack with a diamond weapon and we don't deal enough damage, we have a Bojuka Bog here, that's not going to help. They have Swifty Boots. Yeah, this is tapped, isn't it? That's such a pain. We don't have anything we can get instant speed here. Brings back the Bloodghast. We were so close to this one. I think we had some lines that worked for us. Now they just get to dredge this all up again. Anyway. That was just a mistake on our part there. But we're dead anyway to this because they're just going to give this... This doesn't even need haste. It's just going to crash through. Do you have reach, Hogaak? You don't have reach. That was frustrating. We definitely had a line that we could have finagled through there. But we were trying to dig into the Wail of the Forgotten. But we wanted to attack with our stuff first. Oh, it's just tough. It's just a tough one. I think we get these Faerie Macabres I would like in, and I'm pretty hot on these Force of Vigors. What do I not like here? That is a harder one. I guess the Orcish Bowmasters isn't great, but like, it's really useful for getting our stuff back. The Cabal Therapies actually aren't fantastic here. I think the Faerie Macabres over the Cabal Therapies, that's a pretty good little trade. Do you want this Loam? I think we do. I think the Loam is really useful. We obviously want the Diamond Weapon because that blocks Marit Lage. Hogaak is going to get bounced to Caracas some number of times. So let's just have one of these. Barrowgoyf is just a generically good card that's going to win us a game quite often. Bowmasters is probably the weakest of the weak links here. Maybe we just want 2 Force of Vigors and not go big on it. I can believe that. I think we could have won that game. Obviously, we didn't know all the cards we were going to see until we saw them. So we had to make decisions looking for things and then hoping it worked out. Yeah, we keep this. We go Crab into whatever and just keep going big. It was a great game of Magic, though. Big fan of that one. I think our opponent might have some Leyline of the Voids in their sideboard. They're mulliganing quite low. Our deck is pretty graveyard-centric. So the reason for running Faerie Macabre over other graveyard hate here is this is a permanent card. It's also a creature. So we always play it out and do some stuff with it. No Leyline from our opponent. I'm just going to go smash down the Hedron Crab. Once upon a time from our opponent. Oh, play that Yavimaya. Help us out with our mana as well, please. Exploration. That's a good one. A Wasteland. That's also a good one. Another exploration rather than the Wasteland, but no additional lands. They've got 2 non-lands in hand. That is interesting information to be aware of. Are we playing out our only black source? That feels a little bit sketchy to me. I don't think we play out our only black source just yet. I think we just play out this Cephalid Coliseum, mill ourselves. Alright, we've got something to do next turn. We get our Bloodghast back. I don't really want to pitch this Diamond Weapon. It's going to be like our big payoff. Malevolent Rumble is a great card for our opponent. Saga, Wasteland, Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, and Mox Diamond. They chose Urza's Saga. So I can blow this up right now using our Diamond Weapon. Is that worth it? I think we can blow it up in our opponent's upkeep. Maybe we get another green card that's better to pitch. Maybe our opponent presents us a better target for our Force of Vigor as well. Life from the Loam. Disgusting. I don't really want them to have a Wasteland here. But can we just absorb 1 Wasteland? And then take out the Loam? I think so. I'm not a fan of this Wasteland. Wail of the Forgotten. So we do have to use... actually, that's not true. How many permanent cards? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 permanent cards in graveyard. So we're not going to get enough to Wail to find a different green card. So I want to blow this up before we do anything else. Alright, let's play this. And we'll put this Bloodghast on the bottom. And then mill ourselves. Let's see what we get here and see if it changes how we want to approach this one. I guess we get the Bloodghast out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're just shy of doing what we want to do here. We could take out the Wasteland. Yeah, if we take out the Wasteland and the Life from the Loam, that's reasonable. And then we blow up the Urza's Saga. So we leave the Bloodghast in there. So we take out Life from the Loam, Wasteland. So now we have 8 permanent cards in graveyard. So we go... do all these things. So we bounce this. They discard a card. We pay blue and black. There are so many angles to this deck. Okay, we drew another Force of Vigor. That is actually what we want here. The Wastelands are coming for us. But we just need to take out this Urza's Saga, really. I do want these lands. But the Diamond Weapon we can just cast off of any land that we draw. So then, in our opponent's upkeep, we're going to Force of Vigor, blow up 2 of their things. And now we just exile the Force of Vigor instead of losing our Diamond Weapon. Any land gives us the ability to play this Diamond Weapon, assuming that we're getting Wastelanded here. Malevolent Rumble. Sure. Urza's Saga. Dark Depths. Crop Rotation. Okay, they took the Urza's Saga, so they have another Urza's Saga here. Yep. That's a good one. But we didn't get Wastelanded. I will take that as a win. Any chance of drawing a land here, deck? Get our Bloodghast back, maybe? No. Okay. So if we got the Bloodghast back, we could get the Hogaak back. We could Cephalid Coliseum, find a land, play a land, get both of the Bloodghast back. Is that better than getting Diamond Weapon? Is Hogaak better than Diamond Weapon on this board? Yes, I think it is. Sacrificing a land against our opponent's Wasteland deck feels pretty darn sketchy, though. There are so many interesting lines with this deck. Oh wait, no, we can't do this. We haven't got blue mana. I tell a lie. We're just doing the big thing. All right. We can't use these to bring back Hogaak because the Hedron Crab is not the right color to convoke. We really need to land that turn. So this is probably going to get them Graveyard Hate soon. Another Malevolent Rumble. Could you stop it, please, opponent? What do they got? No life from the Loam, at least, but they have Bojuka Bog. Ugh. That's not what we want to see. You just snap that Bojuka Bog right off, I think. Oh, they took the Thespian stage. Wow. That is a surprise to me, I would say. Polluted Delta. That is a bit of a banger here, isn't it? So I guess we play this first. We'll mill ourselves. There's another Hogaak there. So we can mill ourselves again. I quite like that. And then we can play this Bloodghast. So we'll go and get a... We need a black source, so it has to be a swamp or a bayou. It may as well be a swamp, given they've got the Yavimaya out there. Let's mill ourselves again. Alright, I'll deploy this Bloodghast. I'll deploy this Hogaak. And we'll exile some stuff we don't care about. So Force of Vigors, Wail of the Forgotten. That's all fine. And then it can just be like some lands, I guess. Could be creatures as well. It's fine. Okay, so we've got some stuff going on now. In comes the weapon. They can just chump block this. And they will. And they're probably going to make a Saga construct as well. Or they can turn the Thespian stage into a Saga. But our creatures are pretty big. Maybe we can get through our opponent's Sagas just with massive creatures. It's going to take a lot to absorb an 8/8 every turn. And we have 2 of them. And they're both basically indestructible because one of them just comes back all the time. And the other one is not taking combat damage. Oh, they're floating mana off this Saga. I hate that. Expedition map. Alright. Dark Depths. So I'm going to play the Dark Depths. So I can make a Marit Lage token. So we probably need to keep back our Reach borderline indestructible guy. Okay, we have a Wail of the Forgotten. Love that for us. Let's attack with our friends here. Am I attacking with the Bloodghast? They do come back on their own, but what are they achieving attacking here? They are going to force through some damage. Is that better than just having Hogaak doing its thing? What are we going to take off of this? A land is probably one of the best things we can take off of this. So maybe we do just send it in with the Bloodghast here. Get the damages going. We do need to win the game at some point. They're going to Wasteland our Cephalid Coliseum. Yeah, that's pretty annoying. Yeah. Yeah, that is really annoying. My cunning plan has been fooled. Alright. I guess we get another Bloodghast here. But we needed to wait for them to make the Marit Lage before we Wail of the Forgotten. Unless we're trying to Wail into, like, a Wasteland or something. But then our opponent can just go in response. Alright, so now we're just staring at each other. Cool. How many Bloodghasts do we have in the graveyard? 1 Bloodghast. Are they just going to absorb one of these or not? That's kind of a big deal if they absorb one or not. We do need to push damage. Alright, I'm going to push both Bloodghasts, I think. They just gobble one up and preserve their life total. They do. Okay, that's good news for us. Oh, we've only got 5 minutes left on our clock. We really need to get a wiggle on here. Alright, let's put some Bloodghast triggers on the stack. I stacked these the wrong way around because I'm just worried about time. Sure, I can just go in the graveyard. We're just milling stuff over now. Let's get back the Hogaak. We're at a little stalemate here. But we're now forcing through 2 damage a turn. Plus Hogaak damages. So we could force through 6 damage. Pithing Needle. What are they going to name here? We basically automatically win when we find a blue source as well. They name Wight of the Reliquary here. Caracas. Yeah, we have a Knight of the a Wight of the Reliquary, so it's not out of the realm possibility we have one of those. Alright, we're not getting attacked. Diamond Weapon doing some work here. An Orcish Bowmasters. This doesn't find us a land. I don't think we're attacking here. Because we didn't find a land. Just going to jam an Orcish Bowmasters. I guess we could have attacked with... We should have attacked actually, right? And then we use the Bowmasters to get back the Hogaak. And then our opponent's low enough that our Bloodghast have haste anyway. Yeah, that was a bit loose. I'm just panicking a little bit because we have 4 minutes. I would like to win this game. I don't think we're going to win the match because we just don't have the time to do it. But this has been a really sweet game. Let's pick off our opponent for 1. Can I find a blue source and win the game, please? Alright, they scooped because we have a lot of damage here. We don't think we have enough. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, we do have enough damage. We do have lethal. Counting is hard. I don't know if we have enough time to win this one. We're going to board in a way that can win us the game quickly. So we're going to keep maximum threats in, which means we're not worrying about Faerie Macabre and the grinding situation. We're just going hard and hoping for the best. That is our strategy here. If we can just make like 16 power on turn 3, maybe that's good enough. What does this hand do? We need to assess it quickly. It's a little bit slow, but it kind of has some pieces I like. So we go turn 1, this, turn 2, crab this. That's okay. Alright, I'm just going to keep it. It's got a lot of meat to it. If it comes together, this is a hand that might be able to win the game quickly enough. Expiration on turn 1 from our opponent. Very good. A Dark Depths. Alright, they're just going to turn to us. Could happen. Winternight Stories, you say. Let's get this Hedron Crab in. Love this card. They don't make them like they used to. Wasteland. Yikes. Don't do that to me, opponent. If they have a crop rotation, they have a 20/20 this turn. Okay, they probably have a crop rotation here. Let's mill ourselves, I guess. No, we need to put the Surveil trigger on the stack first so that the Hedron Crab resolves first. Then we get to see if we want this card or not. Otherwise, we just automatically mill through it. Barrowgoyf is not what we want right now. You got me, opponent, or not? Have you just got the turn 2 Marit Lage? I can respect that. I'm certainly a fan of the old turn 2 Marit Lage myself. I've probably made more turn 2 Marit Lages than pretty much every other Magic the Gathering player at this point in life. I've done that an awful lot. Not from the lands deck, though. Although sometimes from the lands deck. Yeah, they just got it here. That was a really sweet match. I'm glad we got an actual conclusion as well. I think the first game we could have played slightly differently, but on that turn there were so many different things. Like if we Wail of the Forgotten first, so if we Wail of the Forgotten first, we get to maybe dig towards a Wasteland, which can then interrupt their stuff. And if we don't, if we wait till later, I don't know, like, are we getting hits off the Barrowgoyf? Maybe we're just supposed to assume that we're not getting hit off the Barrowgoyf. There's just so many different things going on in that matchup. Really sweet game of Magic, though. Awesome. All right, on to round 4. We're into round 4. We've got a little Hedron Crab and some fetch lands. That seems reasonable to me. I think I will keep this. Our mana base is slightly awkward because it's encouraging us to start on one of these lands so that we can play the Wight of the Reliquary more easily on turn 3. Okay, I'll play our Polluted Delta. Maybe our opponent will think about counter magic and won't just try and dome us with some sort of horrible combo hand, but we'll see. Seat of the Synod and a Mox Opal. We're looking at some kind of 8-cast or painter deck here. Cameo, of course. So we're probably getting a Hedge Maze here, which is kind of awkward. We could get, it has to be a blue land. Do we want black for Bloodghast, or are we just fine getting Hedge Maze and then we can get a source off here to cast the white? I think I'm fine getting Hedge Maze here. We want to get our graveyard churning away. I A diamond weapon. I will leave that on top. That is a good payoff if we can get there. So let's deploy a Hedron Crab. Let's play a nice little Verdant Catacombs. Let's mill ourselves. Let's go and find another land. Is there anything we're going to be able to do for 1 mana here? Probably not. So I think this is just an Underground Mortuary and pass. So we want to put the crab mill on top, because then we get to mill and then decide if we want the card underneath it. Cabal Therapy is useful. A Barrowgoyf, like that's obviously a very useful card. It's very powerful. It's not really what I want to be doing, but I think it is just very powerful. We should probably consider it. Do I want to Cabal Therapy my opponent now? Is that better than getting 3 more looks for our graveyard next turn? What are we Cabal Therapy our opponent naming at this point? That is a tricky thing. I don't know. We could go for Painter. We don't know if they're a Painter build. I think we just have to pass the turn here and get some more value off our Hedron Crab, and then we can make a different decision based on more information. Painted Servant. Okay, so they were a Painter deck. We've chosen red, so they've got Hydroblasts packed away over there. Having seen the Cabal Therapy in our graveyard, if they have the Grindstone, they're going to deploy it this turn. This looks pretty sick as a Gruul card, must be said. Thoughtcast. Sure. So they're going to flip their Tamiyo. Not too much of an issue right now. So they have the Grindstone. Now this is an issue. So we know the top card of our library doesn't do anything. How do we get out from this situation? Let's check our deck list. Is there anything we can draw here that matters? No. Right? Nothing here is going to save us. Yeah, I think we're just done, aren't we? Alright, let's go to the sideboard. So there was that turn where I thought about Cabal Therapy, maybe naming Painter. We just didn't have enough information. There's too many decks that look like the same thing right now. Okay, so I'd like some Force of Vigors to help out here, and some Dismembers can kill Painter. I think that is reasonable enough. Do I want access to Thoughtseizes and Faerie Macabre? Faerie Macabre is good for dealing with the Emery. Dismember can also deal with Emery, but also deals with other stuff at the same time, so it's got a little bit more use that way. What am I not a big lover of here? I think the Bowmasters is pretty good here. The Loam, so we can keep rebuying a Wasteland to take out their Urza Saga, is certainly interesting. I don't think we're getting rid of any of our central parts of the deck here. Is this a matchup where Barrowgoyf is actually good? That is an interesting question. Maybe this is a matchup where Barrowgoyf isn't actually where we want to be, as weird as that sounds. Because yes, this mills us some cards if it connects, but it's going to struggle to connect. I think maybe... Is this crazy talk if we get rid of some Barrowgoyfs? Winternight Stories. If we're getting rid of the Barrowgoyf, that probably goes, because that's an easier way of casting this. Obviously, we still have the Hogaaks and stuff. We just have to kind of choose what pieces we're willing to surrender. We still need 1 more cut from this. I don't want to cut any green cards because we want the Force of Vigors live. Wail of the Forgotten is a good way of digging into specific pieces. Maybe bouncing a Chalice out could be quite useful, so I don't think we're getting rid of that. Maybe it's just a Cabal Therapy. I will try this. I don't think Thoughtseize is the best way to fight decks like our opponents. Yes, they are a combo deck trying to assemble A plus B, but they have so much card advantage. Their deck is basically just about playing things that let them draw cards as and when they see fit. Okay, so we have turn 1 Cabal Therapy into Crab. Let's fire this off. What am I most worried about here? I don't like Painter very much. Not a big fan of Emery either. Tamiyo is kind of annoying in other ways as well. I think I'm going to name Painter. There's 2 Emerys that I could have picked up. Yep, and they got a Force over there as well. Okay, opponent. Could be tough. I don't think they're going to dismember our Hedron Crab though. Yep, and there's a Tamiyo. So all the things I thought about naming didn't. They ended up having them. Awkward. Alright, Hedron Crab. Is this worth a Force of Will to you? I don't think it is when they sat there with the Dismember. So we can deploy this Verdant Catacombs, mill ourselves. Hopefully find a Bloodghast. That'd be ideal here. Did not find the Bloodghast. Let's crack this. Go and get Bayou here. Mill ourselves again. So I can Cabal Therapy away our opponent's Emeries. What are we doing with what we have in play is the problem. There's not a lot going on. They have 2 Emeries. That is a lot of Emeries. I think we're just supposed to keep this, because this is our only action piece right now, but they're probably just going to dismember it, right? So maybe we are just supposed to name the Emeries and take them out of our opponent's hand. As awkward as this is. This feels like a horrible place for us to be matchup-wise. Force of Will, pitching an Emery. Okay, so we got something for our troubles. Now our Dismember on their Emery can work. I don't think we are... I think the Emery is scarier. Is the Emery scarier when we have a Bojuka Bog? Uncertain. I guess we see what the Emery flips, and then we can make decisions about where we're pointing this Dismember. So they milled over some stuff. They have an Urza Saga. That is horrible for us. Okay, so I could Dismember the Tamiyo, deploy the Bojuka Bog, and sort of shut down the Emery that way. That is reasonable. Okay. Let's Bojuka Bog our opponent's graveyard. Does an okay job of sweeping some stuff up. But this Urza Saga construct is going to be out of control. And they had a bauble anyway. Alright. So drawing 2 cards, 2 additional cards this turn cycle. Obviously one of them is just a cycle, but they got +1 cards every turn cycle. They've got removal, they've got massive constructs. We are just so far behind with these lands. A Wight of the Reliquary. How big is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it can't be dismembered. That is relevant. We can't play around Metallic Rebuke here. Alright, so we can go and get a Surveil land. We need another green source. It's probably going to be Underground Mortuary. That allows us to cast things like Diamond Weapon. Yep, so they make a construct. It's a 4/4, so it's going to attack as a 6/6 this turn. Yikes. Now, we do have a 7/7. They can trade a token and a Dismember for our guy. No, it's going to attack as an 8. It's a 7/7, right? Because they're going to play this Urza's Bauble out. So they're going to have a 7/6. Okay, so they've got this and the things. They're going to have 2 8/8s. Yeah, I guess we have to chump block one of these. Wow, that sucks. That really sucks. Alright, so let's see if we can surveil in a creature that will grow the Wight of the Reliquary. But a lot of creatures we might want to keep. Cabal Therapy is certainly not doing anything. That can go into graveyard. So if they crack the bauble or the petal, their guy dies, but they're just going to crack the bauble on our turn when the damage is cleared off their guy. We need to draw Force of Vigor right now. Yep, you can see these Polluted Deltas we have. And a Verdant Catacombs. Yep. Not even in the game. We did not really get to play Magic at all there. Our opponent's deck was pretty good at shutting us down. If we'd have named Emery with our first Cabal Therapy, that would have been pretty good. Even if we named Tamiyo, that also would have been fine. But yeah, this matchup seems horrible. Our opponent's got an engine that is very good at outpacing what we're trying to do. I suppose if we're drawing the Force of Vigors, though, we can make some real dents in what our opponent's doing. But we had a choice of Tamiyo and Emery. That was a big choice we had. If we'd have shot the Emery and left the Tamiyo, then they would have to deploy mana to activate the Tamiyo, so they'd be getting clues. So their constructs would be bigger, but we're still just losing to this Urza Saga and we're just drawing nothing but lands. Okay. We have played 4 rounds. We've only won 1 of them. So let's see if we can get a little pity 2-3. Now, the games have been pretty close apart from that last round. So let's see if we can get a 2-3 in the final round. We can't really cast our spells here, so we're going to have to mulligan this. This is more like it, I think. I'll keep this. I think we just get rid of the Bloodghast for now. This card allows us to sort of set up and dig a bit. We have a lot of mill going on. A lot of self-mill. Hopefully we don't just get bodied by like a turn 1 oops play. But we've got turn 1 Crab, turn 2 Crab and Stitcher's Supplier. That's quite a strong line. We could just go turn 1 Stitcher's Supplier, turn 2 Crab and land instead. That might be better. Our opponent's on 5 cards, so they might be doing some spooky deck that's going to windmill us into the sun, and we don't have any ley lines or anything to rely on. Alright, opponent. Show us what you got. Boseiju who endures. Okay. Maybe show and tell? Which is a little bit spooky. Right, let's go and get a Stitcher's Supplier out. A Cabal Therapy. I would quite like to name Show and Tell here. We hit the Show and Tell. Okay. So our opponent had a Lotus Petal, they could go next turn. So I think it's worth doing on the first turn there. So now we're just trying to do what we can do. Would I rather have a Hedron Crab or a Hedron Crab and Mill 3 or a Wight of the Reliquary? It's kind of close actually, isn't it? I think I maybe want the Crab here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, if we crab this turn, the next turn we get to do Wail of the Forgotten, but like the full version of it. Most likely anyway. Yeah, there we go. We had 8 permanents in our graveyard. So next turn we can Wail of the Forgotten and dig. Maybe find a Hogaak to bin off. What was our answer to this Emrakul? If it were just a Show and Tell and an Emrakul. Let's have a look at our deck list. Can we beat that in the main deck? No. That's not really a surprise though, is it? Okay, Cunning Wish into their graveyard. Feels like Omni-Tell here, rather than anything else. You do sometimes get green splashes in Show and Tell, in like the Sneak and Show decks. I don't think that's what's happening here. Okay. I want to play my land afterwards because this will get us a... This could get us a Bloodghast that we can then bring back, which I think is worth doing. So you can discard a card. What are we doing here? Second green source is nice, but doesn't allow us to play anything right now. Another Wail of the Forgotten is okay. I'm gonna take the Wail. I'm gonna take the Wail. Yep, so there, Emrakul disappears. Shuffles their stuff in. I'll play out this Cephalid Coliseum and mill us. A diamond weapon and a Bloodghast. Okay. So Bloodghast can jump out next turn. We don't have another Cabal Therapy yet. But we can cast Wail. Make our opponent discard a card. And do a little dig in for ourselves. Bojuka Bog, not really the land I'm after here. We're going to cast this Wail. What are we going to cast it with? So we have to pay the black off of this. Would I rather keep up a green? I don't think we're popping the Cephalid Coliseum this turn, so I think we're just going to use this. Veil of Summer. So this completely counters our spell. Which is really annoying, because the only target we had was them. The other one was just an ability, so we lost the whole spell there. Yep, that sucks for us. Alright, well, Bojuka Bog, what they do have. Okay. I'll get back the Bloodghast. Can't quite get the Winternight Stories, and we can't get the Bloodghast doing anything this turn either. But next turn is going to be pretty good. But we've given our opponent a lot of time here. Yep, and a Brainstorm. So there's an argument that we should have just stopped trying to do what our deck wants to do and just play out Bowmasters. That is an option we had available to us. But if we hit a bunch of good stuff, we can really go wild here because we kind of have this sweet engine going on. Alright, they just... Okay, it's an Impulse. They still have enough mana to Show and Tell if they find the Show and Tell. But they also need to have a card that's worth Show and Telling in. They could have something like an Omniscience, which might not be enough if they don't have anything to go with it. But they usually just need one draw spell and then they can go. Lotus Petal. Alright, we're getting another turn. Who would have guessed? Life from Loam isn't really what we're looking for right now. I think it is Bojuka Bog, Underground Sea. We want to keep the green and maybe the Cephalid Coliseum can do some stuff here. We'll play this out. We can ping our opponent for 1. And we get back this Hogaak. We get rid of the things that aren't permanent cards. I guess we leave one of them in for the purposes of our Barrowgoyf. Okay, then I'll cast this. I'll tap this Hogaak. And then I guess we tap this. No, we want to have green available, don't we, if we draw a land here. So I'll discard a creature card. I guess we just get rid of this Wight of the Reliquary. Then we can deploy the Hedron Crab. Employ the Polluted Delta. We mill ourselves for 6. And crack this for the swamp here. Yes, I'd like my Bloodghast back. Okay, now I'm going to Cabal Therapy my opponent. Show and tell, I guess. We're gonna take multiple things here, right? We've got another Cabal Therapy in there. An Omniscience, okay. So then I would like to Cabal Therapy them. Omniscience. Get that out of here. I've just got Emrakul in hand here. Then we go to attacks. To Supplier. We don't have any more Cabal Therapies. We can Life from the Loam back a land to make sure our Bloodghast come back. We have lethal damage in play as well. Did they draw the show and tell? They did draw the show and tell. Okay, I will put in our massive creature. So they have to block this 17 power creature. There we go. Alright. Mostly our opponent's deck didn't do what it needed to do, but I will take that when I can. I would like access to Thoughtseizes. If we put in a permanent with a trigger, we can then try and Force of Vigor away their Omniscience. So these are things I'm interested in. What doesn't seem great? The Life from the Loam doesn't seem like where I want to be here. The Barrowgoyf is fine. The Wail of the Forgotten is if our opponent does the thing, doesn't quite manage to convert it into anything, then we can kind of try and go. Maybe the Barrowgoyf's just fine here, but not really where we need to be. It's a combo matchup. We should be able to win with whatever. And then we want to keep our green cards for Force of Vigor. What puts a trigger on the stack? So we have Stitcher Supplier, any land with Hedron Crab in play, Orcish Bowmasters, any of our Surveil lands. So there's a few triggers available that we can put on the stack so that we get a chance to do this before they can cast sorcery speed spells. So the Loam is the thing that we mentioned needed to go, and that's relatively clean actually. Oh no, we took out Wail of the Forgotten. I'm going to keep those. What is the other card we lose here? Is it just a Bloodghast? I think it probably is. Okay, let's see if we can poke enough holes in what our opponent's doing. This is very good for our game plan, and this is a lot of looks at trying to find a Cabal Therapy, so I will keep this. We kind of need 2 turns. A Ponder from our opponent. So it's probably turn 1, Stitcher Supplier, turn 2, Hedron Crab, fetch land, crack it. So we get to put 9 cards in our bin looking for a Cabal Therapy. That's not too shabby. We'll play this one out so we can play the crab next turn as well. Can I have a Stitcher Supplier, please? A Hogaak and a Bloodghast. So we get to play Hogaak next turn. That's pretty cool. Tropical Island. Alright, we get another turn. Also good news. Let's play a Hedron Crab. Let's play a land. Let's mill ourselves here. Get back the Bloodghast. Let's crack this. We probably want a green source here. And it probably wants to be blue as well. So that just leaves Tropical Island as the thing we get. Mill ourselves some more. No Cabal Therapy. That is awkward. I should have got rid of the Thoughtseize there. This makes our diamond weapon a little bit awkward to cast, but I'm expecting this to get interacted with on some level. So he could have played their Hedron Crab and used that to tap on the Hogaak. I missed the Thoughtseize there. We're supposed to take the Thoughtseize out. Alright, we have a lot of milling available to us next turn. I don't think our opponent's fighting over Hedron Crabs. Do they get to win with Omniscience this turn? If they put in something like an Emrakul, we might be able to survive a hit and then kill them on the crackback. That is possible. As a Lotus Petal, are we dead? Hedge Maze. Okay, this could be setting up the draw from the Omniscient spell they cast. Alright, here we go. Show and tell. I would like to put in Is it the diamond weapon or is it a land here? It's probably the diamond weapon, let's be honest. Alright, let's put in our diamond weapon. We are probably going to die here. And recall the Eon's Torn. How much damage can we take from this? So this is Annihilator 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for a land. So we're not quite dead, but if they find a Cunning Wish, they can just go forever. They find another Emrakul. They get another turn. But we can take a hit. The diamond weapon can block the Emrakul and not take any damage. But they're drawing a whole bunch of cards now. A second Omniscience. Cool. A stock up. Yep. Alright, hands off the wheel. Let's just hope that our opponent doesn't quite find the thing that gets him to win the game this turn. But then they still have next turn as well. They should just cast all of their spells, right? Because they're free. As soon as they find a Cunning Wish, we lose. They find another Emrakul, we lose. Actually, we don't lose to another Emrakul, but we basically lose. We go down to 0 permanents. And take 15, and then get a turn. That doesn't seem great for us. Stock up. Okay. We're not dead. Alright, Annihilator triggers. We want green to cast diamond weapons. We already have a diamond weapon, so we probably don't need the green. Let's just get rid of. So we mill for 3 again. Cabal Therapy. Where were you earlier? We could have used you earlier. Alright, let's just block with the diamond weapon. Another Emrakul. We're probably not beating that. We're going to go down to 0 permanents. And, like, no life, really. Okay, I think we just have to go in again. We've got what we've got. We've got 6 discard spells, but they need to find Show and Tell. They can't win without Show and Tell. So we can stop them from having Show and Tell. That's something. I don't think we can keep this. Like, what are we doing? We're Thoughtseizing our opponent, and then what? Nothing. I think we have to get something that plays the game a bit more. Okay, I'm okay to keep this. I think it's the white or the diamond that goes here. Okay, I don't feel great about this one, but we can find the Cabal Therapy. We've got a lot of looks at Cabal Therapy here, which is what we're trying to find. So this needs to be an Underground Sea, so we can cast the Stitcher Supplier now, and then the Hedron Crab next turn. Can we mill over? We didn't mill over the card we needed. But we have 6 more looks and our draw step to find a Cabal Therapy. That's 7 more looks. Our opponent is very unlikely to go off on turn 1. It's possible, but unlikely. Cabal Therapy, you say? Okay, so this is play the crab, play the Polluted Delta, mill ourselves. There is a Bloodghast. I will crack this. We need to get a green source, and it needs to be black, so this is a Bayou. So we'll mill ourselves some more. Get back the Bloodghast. There's no Hogaak in there. I'm going to cast Cabal Therapy, target my opponent here. A Force of Negation would be annoying because it would exile it. I'm going to Brainstorm and protect their hand here. We're going to have a couple of bites here into what our opponent's doing. What I put back, well, we're probably not naming Omniscience, right? They probably don't think we're going to name Omniscience. They probably think we're going to name Show and Tell. So I'm going to name Omniscience. And then with our second one, we can hit something else. Impulse, Ponder, Brainstorm, just a bunch of cantrips. That's kind of annoying. Impulse, Summon, Brainstorm. So we can take one of these, but that honestly doesn't actually seem that good. Alright, I think we'll save that Cabal Therapy for next time around. They do have this Veil of Summer though. I'm presuming they're going to Ponder and then sit on the Veil. Yep, this means they didn't really have much going on. A land here would be nice. Not a land. So we could Wail here, looking for a land. Or we could just play the white. I think we're just going to play the white here. Just hope our opponent can't string things together this turn. Are they going to cycle this Veil now or not? They are going to cycle it, okay. They shuffled off the Ponder, so I don't think they should have it this turn. It's possible, but I think we're going to have another turn. Ancient Tomb is a little bit sketchy for us. Show and Tell, okay. They have the Omniscience and they've got 2 draw spells in hand. Yep. Oh, and they got stock up as well. This should be game, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 permanents. So we go down to 1 permanent after they attack us once. And then we're just cooked. So we can't necessarily crack back 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is the most we can crack back 4, I think. Oh, Cunning Witch, we're just dead. They can just go and get like Firemind's Foresight, release the Ants combo. Just shed someone. They're just getting Emerald Calls and stuff. Yep, couldn't quite get there. Alright, that is the end of the match and the league. And we finished with a very poor 1-4 record. However, I thought the deck was pretty solid. And 2 of the rounds that we lost were very close. In fact, even the Show and Tell round was very close. Like, we just needed a Cabal Therapy on one of the turns and we would have been okay. In the last one, we drew our Cabal Therapy slightly late. So let's talk about the deck list. So I really like what's going on here. I'm a big fan of like synergy decks, especially Graveyard Synergy deck. I love doing Wight the Reliquary and Bloodghast stuff. That really appeals to me. Hedron Crab, Stitches Supplier. This is all my sort of jam. What I will say is that a lot of the combo decks can cause us issues. And 57% of the meta right now is combo. So they can definitely come in underneath what we're doing because we need a few turns to set up. We certainly had some games where we set up a lot quicker. Like if we can get like a turn 2 Hogaak down, then all of a sudden things are looking pretty grim for our opponents. What I will say is there was a game against Show and Tell where we chose to play towards doing our engine stuff when we could have just played out a Bowmaster. And that would have hurt our opponent's cantrips and maybe would have bought us the time or given us the damage to beat our opponent. So that is kind of a bit of a strike against the deck in some ways because it means that we'd be better off just playing the good cards rather than trying to do our combo thing. And it kind of felt like that sometimes where, you know, Barrowgoyf and Bowmasters are just solidly good cards. Now, Hogaak and Diamond Weapon are pretty phenomenal once they hit play, and Wight the Reliquary can do some real action here as well. And when you're doing Wail of the Forgotten for all 3 modes, it feels great. So I do like what's going on here. It just feels like we need maybe some more tools to deal with some of the stuff. Like, we don't remove our opponent's creatures, right? We don't have anything that can do that. We just have to, like, block them with Diamond Weapon. And obviously this can block everything. But if they've got some creatures that are problematic, then what are we doing there? This is also bounceable by Caracas, which can be an issue. Hogaak is quite big, can attack into a lot of stuff, so that's also fine. But then again, there will be situations where it's not enough. And Barrowgoyf can attack into stuff and it will trade with most things because of the Death Touch, unless they have Indestructible or whatever. So we're using aggressive plans to try and get through our opponent's creatures, but that's not always going to be the way to get through things. Your opponent can kind of tempo you out, bouncing a blocker at the right time, and you're not really getting anywhere, and it can be a bit awkward. So it feels like we're doing a lot of stuff here, and I'm not 100% sure it's always going to be worth it. Now, there are builds in the past that used Altar of Dementia, so you could just go really hard and just, you know, get back your Hogaak, mill yourself for 8, get back your Hogaak again, mill yourself for 8, using like the Bridge from Below's. Now, maybe that is where we're supposed to be in this day and age of like combo-y decks. We need to just go combo harder. Alternatively, we need to take some little tips from the Cradle Control and other Wight the Reliquary decks where we have more lands that can interact with our opponents. So something like a Talon Gates of Madara, for example, with the Wight of the Reliquary would give us something to phase out. What I will say about this deck is I had multiple situations where we had like 7 different lines we could take. But there was so much like choice for our options, and I am 100% sure that I made the wrong choice across a decent amount of those choices. So playing this deck tighter and better is going to get you a little bit further, but how hard are we working here? And is it worth working this hard when we could maybe try and work a little smarter, if that makes sense? If we just do some more intrinsically powerful stuff, get some more like generically good tools in here, like Life from the Loam. Is this something that's going to be that great for us? We can dredge it, but I never really felt like I wanted to just be casting Life from the Loam, right? So this could be like an interactive slot. It could be the Talon Gates, which then goes with our Wight the Reliquary. And then we get to answer some stuff. There are a couple of times where I was tempted to, if we had one, I would have been tempted to get the Dryad Arbor, because that's a green thing that can immediately tap for Hogaak. And that's kind of a big deal. as well as being a creature that you can sack to Cabal Therapy. So maybe that's a tool that we can leverage here. But the thing is, there's so many different things and pieces and all sorts of stuff you can chuck in a Hogaak deck that it's very hard to work out what the precise list is. I was talking to Stryfo, who gave us the deck, and they said that they were glad that we played them after they've been fine-tuning it for a bit, because their earlier builds were really, really shaky. I think this build is fine. We had some horrible matchups and some awkward stuff going on in terms of those matchups, like not being able to find our discard spells, not being able to keep the hand that we opened that had the discard spell because it couldn't do anything else. If that land was a different land, if we had like a second land at all in that list, then all of a sudden everything kind of clicks into place a little bit. So yeah, I like this deck, and I think there's room for improvement for sure. I'm also not a big lover of Faerie Macabre when you just need Leyline in the Voids, but in a week or so we're probably expecting some bans, so I wouldn't necessarily rule out Faerie Macabre being the correct choice once that happens, because I don't know how hard Oopsal Spells is going to get hit. Hopefully very hard, and they just take out both the creatures. But if they only take out one of them, then you're still going to need Leylines, because they're going to be able to just go off. But then you're also just going to have Charbelcher in the main deck, so it's kind of going to be down if you do, down if you don't. But anyway, I like this deck a lot, and I would like to see improvements and innovations on it. And if you have any ideas, please let me know. I can always pass them on to Stryfo as well if I think there's anything sweet that you lovely people have come up with. Alright, thank you so much for joining me with this one. I had a real blast playing this deck, even though the result wasn't amazing. It felt like a real deck that kind of isn't quite there yet. There's something really good here, right? Like the Diamond Weapon, getting this down feels really good. Like Hogaak is obviously pretty good. Making our giant whites, obviously pretty good. There's so much stuff here I like, and it just feels like we need a little bit more time, a little bit more cooking in the brewing oven, and then we're all good. Alright, ramble over and done with. Do the whole like and subscribe thing. If you want to buy any cards this deck, check out 3for1 Trading. They sponsor me, and they sponsor other legacy content creators, so they are helping the community in a big way by making sure that we can afford to do this as like a job. So send them some love. Alright, goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.